Preached Sam by Dustin Thau, Chapter 2. Now, March 7, 9 p.m. Don't bother picking me up anymore. I can walk home. I did walk home, all 5 miles from the bus station, dragging an oversized carry-on with a broken heel in the middle of the night. Sam kept trying to reach me. 12 unread messages, 7 missed calls, and 1 voicemail, but I ignored them all and kept walking. Reading these back again, I wish I hadn't been so angry at him. I wish I had picked up the phone. Maybe then everything would be different. Morning light comes through the curtains as I lay curled in my bed, listening to Sam's voicemail again. Julie, you there? Some laughter in the background and crackling from the bonfire. I'm sorry, I completely spaced, but I'm leaving now. Okay, just stay there. Should only take me an hour. I know, I feel terrible. Please don't be mad. Call me back, okay? If he only listened to me and stayed with his friends, if only he didn't forget about me in the first place, if only he just this once let me be upset instead of always trying to fix things, no one would be blaming me for what happened. I wouldn't be blaming me for what happened. I play the voicemail a few more times before I delete everything. Then I climb out of my bed, starting to appending drawers, looking for anything that was Sam's or reminds me of him. I find photos of us, birthday cards, movie tickets, stubs, paper blossoms, stupid gifts like stuffed lizard he won at the town fair last fall, as well as every mixed CD he made for me over the years. Who even burns CDs anymore? And cram them together in a box. Every day, these little reminders of him get harder to look at. They say so. Moving on becomes easier with time, but I can barely hold a photo without my hands trembling. My thoughts go to him, they always do. I can't keep you around, Sam. It makes me think you're still there, that you're coming back, that I might see you again. Once I have everything collected, I take a long look at my room. I've never realized how much of him I had lying around. It feels empty now, like there's a void in the air, like there's something missing. I take a few deep breaths before I grab the box and leave my room. It's the first time this week that I managed to get out of bed before noon. I only make 2 steps out of the door before I realize I forgot something. I set the box down and turn back to get it. Inside my closet is Sam's denim jacket, the one with the wool collar and embroidered patches, band logos, flags of places he's traveled, along with the sleeves that he ironed himself. I've had it for so long, I wear it so often that I forgot it was his. I pull the jacket from the hanger. The denim feels cold to touch, almost damp, like it's holding in the rain from last time I wore it out. Sam and I raced down the puddle-filled streets as bursts of lightning lit up the sky. It was pouring on our way home. From the screaming Trez concert, I pull the jacket over my head as Sam holds his signed guitar tight to his chest, desperate to keep it dry. We waited 3 hours outside for the band's lead singer, Mark Lanigan, to come out and hail his taxi. I'm so glad we waited, Sam shouts. But we're soaked. Don't let a little rain ruin our night. You call this a little? Out of everything I'm throwing out, this reminds me of him the most. He wore it every day. Maybe it's all in my head, but it smells like him. I never got a chance to give it back like I promised. I pressed the jacket against me. For a moment I considered keeping it. I mean, why does everything have to go? I could shove it back in the closet, hide it beneath my coats or something. It seems like a waste to throw out a perfectly nice jacket, regardless of whom it once belonged to. But then I catch a glimpse in the mirror and come back to myself. My unbrushed hair, skin more pale than usual, wearing yesterday's shirt, cradling Sam's jacket like it's still a part of him. The chill of embarrassment goes through me. I look away. Keeping it would be a mistake. Everything has to go, or else I'll never be able to move on with my life. I shut the closet door and hurry up back before I change my mind. Downstairs in the kitchen, I find my mother leaning over the sink, staring out of the window. It's Sunday morning, so she's working from home. The bottom step creaks under my foot. Julie, is that you? Mother asks without turning around. Yeah, don't worry. I was hoping to sneak the box right by her. I'm not in the mood to have a talk with what's inside. Where are you looking at? It's Dave again, she whispers, peering through the blinds. I've been watching him set up a new security camera outside his house. Oh, it's exactly like I expected. Dave, our neighbor who moved in 6 months ago. For some reason, my mother thinks he was sent to watch us. She's again paranoid over since she received a letter from the government few years back, the contents of which she refuses to share with me. It's better if you don't know, she said when I asked. I think it has something to do with the lecture she gave me at her old job that incited protests. Her students went out around the campus, smashing clocks on every wall. What were they protesting? The concept of time. To be fair on her part, she said her students didn't get it, but the university decided her teaching style was too radical and let her go. She convinced that they reported her to the government. The same thing happened to Hemingway, she explained to me, but no one listened to him. Fascinating story, you should Google it. I heard someone broke into his garage the other week, I say, to relax her. That's probably the reason for the cameras. How convenient, my mother says. We've lived here for almost 3 years now, and no one has taken as much as a lawn gnome. I read just the box that's starting to feel heavy. Mom, we've never owned a lawn gnome, I say thankfully. And we also don't collect vintage sports cars. Whose side are you on again? Ours, I reassure. Just tell me our plan to take him out. My mother releases the blinds and sighs. I get it. I'm being a bit paranoid. She takes a deep breath, releases it like her yoga instructor taught her, and looks at me. Anyway, I'm glad that you're up, she says. Her eyes flash to the clock above the fridge. I was about to head out, but I can make you something if you're hungry. Eggs? She slides towards the stove. The electric kettle begins to boil. A bag of coffee sits near the sink beside the teaspoon. No, I'm fine. Are you sure? She insists, her hand hovering over the handle of the clean pan. I can make you something else. Let me think. She seems more rushed than usual. I glance down at the counter and see a stack of ungraded papers. They recently finished midterms at the university in town where my mother works. She is an assistant professor in the philosophy department. It was one of the few places that interviewed her after the incident. Thankfully, one of her old colleagues is tenured there and put his name on the line. One mistake and they both could lose their jobs. Actually, I'm on my way out. I keep glancing at the clock, trying to appear to be in a hurry. The longer I linger around, the more questions she can throw at me. Out of the house, my mother asks. She shuts off the electric kettle and wipes her hand with the dish towel. Just a walk. Okay. I mean, that's good. For the past week, my mother's been bringing meals to my room and checking in several times a day, so I'm not surprised hearing the note of concern in her voice. And I'm meeting a friend. Fantastic. My mother nods. You could use fresh air, get some decent coffee, and it's good to see your friends. That reminds me, have you talked to Mr. Lee at the bookstore? Not yet. I haven't really spoken to anyone. You should check in with him if you can. At least let him know that you're okay. He's left a few messages. I know. Some of your teachers too. I grabbed my bag from the hook on the wall. Don't worry, Mom. I'll talk to them tomorrow. I mean, you're going back to school. I have to. I say, if I miss another week, they won't let me graduate. Not to mention, I am behind on all of my schoolwork, which keeps piling up. I really need to focus again. I pull myself together because what else am I supposed to do? The world keeps moving no matter what happens to you. Julie, don't you worry about any of that, Mother says. They'll understand if you need more time. In fact, she holds a finger. Let me make a call. She turns in a circle, looking around. Where is that thing? Her phone is sitting on the kitchen table as my mother walks over and grabs it. I jump in her way. Mom, listen, I'm fine. But Julie, please, are you sure? I promise I am okay. You don't have to call anyone. I don't want her to worry about me. I can deal with this on my own. All right then, my mother sighs. If you say so. She cups my face with her hands, running her fingers and her thumbs along my cheeks and tries to make me smile. The silver in her hair shines beautifully in the light. Sometimes I forget that she was once blonde. As we take each other in, my mother glances down. So, what's in the box? I was hoping she wouldn't notice. It's nothing. I was cleaning out my room. Without asking me, she lifts the jacket off of the lid and glances inside. It doesn't take long for her to connect the pieces. Oh, Julie, are you sure about this? It's not really a big of a deal. You don't have to get rid of everything, she says, riffling through it. I mean, you can always store some of it and away if you want. No, I say firmly, I don't need any of this. My mother lets off of the jacket and steps back. All right, I won't stop you on this. I have to go. I'll see you later. I leave the house through the garage door. Down in the curb, I drop the box of Sam's things inside the mailbox and the recycling bin. It hits the ground with a clatter change and bones. The sleeve of his jacket hangs limply over the side of the box like an arm of a ghost. I straighten out my shirt and begin my morning walk towards the town, letting the sun warm me up for the first time in days. Halfway down the block, a priest rolls leaves across my path as I pause on the sidewalk, struck with a strange thought. If I were to turn around, would he be standing there holding his jacket, staring down at me with the rest of the things? I imagine the look on his face, even wonder what he might say. As I cross the street, continue down the block without once looking back. There's a slight chill as I make my way into the town. Ellensburg lies east of the Cascades, so occasional gusts of mountain air blow right through us. It's a small town made up of historic red big buildings and wide open space. It's a town where nothing happens. My parents and I moved here from Seattle 3 years ago when my mother received a new job at the Central Washington University, but only she and I stayed after, as she was offered a full-time position. Dad returned to his old job in Seattle and didn't look back. I never blamed him for leaving this place. He didn't belong here. Sometimes I feel like I don't belong here either. My mother describes Ellensburg as an old town that's still figuring out itself out in the age where everyone wants to be in the city. As much as I can't wait to leave this place, I admit it has its charm. I crossed my arms as I entered downtown, noticing the changes brought by the spring these last few weeks. Flower baskets bloom beneath the street lamps. A line of white canopies run down the mountain block for weekly farmers market. I crossed the street to avoid the crowd, hoping not to run into anyone. Downtown Ellensburg is usually beautiful, especially during the warmer months, but walking in these streets again, I am reminded of him. Sam waits for me to get off work and we grab falafel at the food stand. We watch a movie in the $5 Sundays at the theater and then wander through the town together. When I sense him standing around the corner waiting for my heart races and I think about turning back. But no one is there except a woman lost in her phone. I pass without her even noticing. My friend Mika Obayashi and I arranged to meet for coffee at the diner on the other side of the town. There are plenty of coffee shops around here, but I texted Mika last day saying I'm no longer in mood to run into anyone. She replied, same. Inside the diner, I'm seated at a booth by the window near an old couple sharing a menu. When the waitress comes, I order a cup of coffee, no cream, no sugar. Usually I add some milk, but I'm training myself to drink coffee black. I read it somewhere online that it is acquired to taste like wine. I've only had a few sips when the bell jingles from the ceiling and Mika comes through the door, looking for me. She's wearing a black cardigan over a dark dress I've never seen her wear before. She looks better than I expected, given the circumstances. Maybe she just came from one of the services. My mom told me she spoke at the funeral. Mika is Sam's cousin. That's how she and I met. Sam introduced us when I first moved here. Once Mika sees me, she comes over and slides into the red booth. I watch her set her phone down and throw her bag beneath the table. The same waitress reappears. She sets down a cup and pours a long stream of coffee. Extra sugar and milk would be great, Mika requests. Please. Sure, the waitress says. Mika holds up her hand. Actually, is there soy milk? Soy? No. Oh, Mika frowns. Just milk then. As soon as the waitress turns, Mika looks at me. You didn't reply to my messages. I wasn't sure if you're still meeting. Sorry, I haven't been the most responsive lately. I don't have another excuse. I have a bit of leaving my phone silent, but this week I've been especially disconnected. I get it, she says, frowning a little. For a second I thought you might have cancelled it without telling me. You know I don't like being stood up. Which is why I came early. We both smile. I have a sip of coffee. Mika touches my hand. I missed you, she whispers, giving me a squeeze. I missed you too. As much as I tell myself I like being alone, I feel a rush of relief to see a familiar face, to see Mika again. The waitress arrives, sits down, a small pitcher of milk, tosses some sugar packets from her apron and disappears again. Mika rips open 3 packets of sugar and pours them into her cup. She picks up the pitcher and holds it out. Milk, she offers. I shake my hand. Because it isn't soy. No, I'm trying to drink my coffee black. Impressive, she says, nodding. Very Seattle of you. At the word Seattle, Mika's phone lights up as a notification pops on the screen. The phone vibrates on the table. Mika glances down at her screen, then back at me. Let me put it this way. She hides her phone in her bag and picks up the menu. Did you want to order something? Actually, I'm not quite hungry. Oh, alright. Mika sets down the menu and laces her finger together at the table as I have another sip of coffee. The jukebox blinks orange and the blue from across the room, but no music plays. An air of silence nearly settles between us until Mika finally asks the question. So did you want to talk about? No, not really. Are you sure? I thought that's why you wanted to meet. I wanted to get out of the house. She nods. That's good. But how are you handling all of this? Fine, I guess, I say. Mika says. She looks at me as if expecting more. Well, what about you? I ask her instead. How have you been? Mika's gaze falls onto the table as she thinks about it. I don't know. The services have been hard. There isn't really a temple around here, so we're doing what we can. There's a lot of traditions and customs I didn't even know about, you know. I can't imagine.